Aloha. I'm here to talk about your safety. You could be learning something in the next half hour that's going to save your life. It may be something that you haven't thought of. It may be something you've even experienced. And we're going to talk about it. What is it? Carbon monoxide. There's a lot of dead cars up here. Some of them crossed the center line. Some of them went right off the road. Sometimes people die in these cars. In fact, the leading cause of death in the United States for people under 45 years of age is automobile accidents. Lost my father, my sister to automobile accidents. Why am I here talking to you? Well, my name's Rollin. I've worked in safety in Hawaii for about 20 years. Yeah, and I spent a lot of time on the road and a lot of time investigating accidents. And I'm kind of semi-retired in Kona now, but I came out of retirement briefly to help you out because of something that happened to me personally. So I'm going to tell you the story. In fact, I'm going to show you the old vehicle. Come on over here and look at my old truck here. Come on. Yeah, this is my old truck. This is actually an old dirt bike truck. And shortly after the holidays here, I had a couple of 12-year-olds and a couple of motorcycles in it, and we were headed north. When near Costco on the main highway, 4-lane highway, what happened? An enormous truck, one of the largest trucks on the road, really, drifted across the center line. Hit both of the bumpy areas. There's two of them, 6 foot across. Didn't budge an inch. There was nobody at the controls and came right at me. If I'd have hit my brakes, we'd have all died. Luckily, I put my foot in it, and I made it around the edge on the shoulder, and he missed me, the rear end, by a foot. He was going 50 this way, I was going 50 the other way. Well, I don't mind telling you, I was shaken. So I decided to follow up on it a little bit. How could a driver have done something like this? I did. What I found out was carbon monoxide was at fault. That's why I'm here to talk to you about it. Because we have this hazard in Hawaii because of our trade winds. And the hazard is unusual. It's sneaky and it's undetectable. And you probably all had a snifter of carbon monoxide once or twice. The feeling of it, now I really want to talk to the drivers out there. That's what this film is for, those of you driving on the road, especially the young ones, okay? Why does somebody cross over the center line like this driver did? Or why does he go off the road? There aren't many reasons, folks. Heart attacks. He's not drunk. He's not weaving. You know, something serious happened. Well, if you're driving along and you get a little sleepy, regular sleep is one thing, you know. Oh, I'm a little sleepy, and you can kind of comes up on you slow. If you're drunk, you know, your eyes go around, things happen, you swerve, it's a different matter altogether. But carbon monoxide is very strange. It's a very sudden weakness. It's very sudden. Now you may not smell, you won't smell it. It's odorless. It's colorless. It's invisible. No, you won't smell it. Furthermore, it takes about 15 minutes, maybe 10, maybe 20, to creep up on you. So your bloodstream, you know, takes it all in, slowly feeds it to your brain till, of course, if you pull over, in 5 minutes you feel refreshed and off you go. What was that? Oh, I was a little tired. No, folks, your cars become your killer. Your trucks become your killer. Look at this old truck. Now, I know that this truck has problems. The exhaust is good, but I've got holes all over this old truck for exhaust to creep around in. If I'm driving down the road and I got a real strong wind here, and that wind happens to be coming out of this pipe going this way, it might just swirl right up into here, into the bed. Once it's in the bed, it may find its way right up into that window there, you see. It's sneaky stuff. When you're driving in one direction for 15, 20 minutes and a Hawaiian wind is blowing at you. Matter of fact, the day that happened to us was a very strong wind. I'll tell you a little more. We tracked down the manager. It was very nice. Found the driver. 2 days later, asked the driver what had happened. He said, oh, I had a steering problem. She said, well, was it possible it's carbon monoxide put you to sleep? And the driver went, oh, really? You see, he had no idea what had happened to him. Most of us don't. That's what this show is all about. We're going to dig into this hazard. We're going to define it for you. We're going to show you how it works, show you how to investigate accidents that might be carbon monoxide caused, and then we're going to show you what to do about it. We've even got a way to measure it. So sit down, relax, take it easy, open your eyes. There's a killer on the road. Could be your own vehicle or the guy in the big truck coming at you. We're going to talk about a very real hazard and how to fix it. Come on, here we go. Hey, let's start by looking up this creepy killer in a good book. It's always wise to see what a good book might say. What do the experts say here? Carbon monoxide, a colorless, odorless, toxic gas produced by any process that involves the incomplete combustion of carbon-containing substances. It's primarily emitted through the exhaust of gasoline-powered vehicles. Here they say one of the most insidious toxic gas hazards in an industrial atmosphere is carbon monoxide, CO. Odorless, tasteless, and colorless, CO can be deadly even in small concentrations. Well, it's not exactly a toxic poison like strychnine or something, because OSHA will allow you to breathe 50 parts per million, all day long, and up to 75 parts per million. That's 50 parts of carbon monoxide to 1 million parts of air. And for short excursions, up to 75 parts per million. So the gas itself is not poisonous and harmful, no. Well, if it's not poisoning you, how's it work? Well, your bloodstream is full of these little red cells. They call it hemoglobin. Well, they're red because they're like little carriers, and they carry oxygen from your lungs, and your heart pumps it all around, and that's the way you oxygenate the body, okay? Now, if you get a little, instead of O2, oxygen here, if you get some carbon monoxide, CO, in your bloodstream, bang, it attaches to the same little site here, turns them blue, and now the little cell cannot carry oxygen around, it's carrying carbon monoxide around. What happens to you? Well, a lot of your muscle systems have reserves, but the one thing that doesn't have much reserve of oxygen is your brain. Think about what happens when you hold your breath. Your muscles still work, but your brain zonks out. So what happens is a little carbon monoxide gets in there, and one by one it hits these little hemoglobin, and they fill up, and little by little your brain starves out of oxygen, and it's just not getting it. It's not carrying it, you see, and suddenly you faint. You go sleep. Carbon monoxide poisoning isn't really poisoning. You could almost call it narcoticizing at these levels, as long as it stops. Now, if you laid there in a cloud of it and kept breathing it, eventually all the hemoglobin sites would be all filled up with carbon monoxide. You'd have no oxygen, and it'd take 3-4 minutes, and you'd be brain dead. But at our levels here, what we're concerned about is this slow, insidious process of filling up these cells with carbon monoxide, and by golly, first of all, it takes some time for this to get into your blood. And so you've got to have some constant conditions. Sometime maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, depends on the... so we want you to consider that it's driving in straight direction for 10-15 minutes is the first condition of some hazard. Now, the wind direction. Okay, let's talk about that, because that's serious business. Let's suppose you're driving along here at 30 miles an hour, and you got a 40-mile-an-hour wind going this way. Okay, you're going 30, wind's going 40. Well, what happens? The exhaust that comes out of your car is going 10 miles an hour this direction, isn't it? Because it's caught in the wind. And so you get a 10-mile-an-hour exhaust wind. Well, it doesn't happen very often, he says. That's true. Yeah, that's true. Perhaps the wind's coming in at this direction. Maybe your exhaust pipe's over on the other side. Maybe what it does is it blows in this direction, and it's just enough to overcome some speed and get in over on that side. Or maybe it's coming from this direction. Now maybe it's even coming from this direction. And it blows that out of the tailpipe, like in my old blue Toyota, and it swirls. You've seen that, haven't you? Vehicle moving along, what happens? You get this swirling behind there. Yeah? Yes. Let me tell you two more personal stories. A friend of mine once had a Lincoln Continental. No, not like this. Big, long, nice, fancy Lincoln Continental. Asked me and a friend to drive him down from Waimea down into Kona. Well, if I had examined the thing thoroughly, right back here where the trunk lid fit, turned out there was a little half-inch crack. They had had a problem with the trunk lid, and somebody had decided to tie it down or make it. They put it down in some way so that you couldn't open it, but doggone had a little half-inch crack. Now, we started down Waimea, from Waimea down on to the coast, and it's strange, I was sitting on the other side, my friend was driving, and as we drove down, suddenly, shoot, off, he started to go, wake up, you know, he straightened out. Did it again, another 5 minutes later, look out, what's going on? So I said, I'll take over, you must be tired. Okay, he said. So I took over. I drove another 10 minutes down the road, bang, suddenly there I was out too. What happened? Well, in this case, it came up to the trunk, it went all the way through the back, it came in through the cab in such a fashion that only the guy on this side got carbon monoxide. The guy sitting on that side didn't. He was fine. Personal story number 2. I'm driving a Jeep over on the island of Kauai. Actually, it's a government Jeep. The government gave me. I was working for the government. So I'm in a totally open vehicle. And I didn't have any trouble with that Jeep. I drove it all around, except only the times that I was driving from Kilauea down through Kapa'a down to Lihue. And then every time I'd just about get just past Kapa'a and I'd fall asleep and I'd have to pull over to the side of the road. Happened every time. Didn't happen in that direction because the trade winds, yeah? It only happened in this direction. Here I was, folks, in an open vehicle, just like a lot of our tourists are. In fact, even something like this is no barrier to carbon monoxide if the wind is correct. Okay, drivers, let's play some cars here again, okay? Now, there's 3 major factors involved. Time, first of all, 15-20 minutes allows the carbon monoxide to get in there and occupy the hemoglobin sites, reach a level in your brain where it suddenly conks out. The vehicle, very important. Every vehicle is different. Some have holes, some don't. They have different windows. And, of course, the wind. A nice constant wind in one direction. That seems to be a must. Driving in one direction with a constant wind, that's a classic. Let's take this guy. Here's a dump truck. Take a good look at it. This thing goes up. Now, the exhaust probably comes out the rear here. Underneath it, there's little channels, rails, you know, that can channel. The thing swirls behind. You've seen that happen. You look at it from the top, it'll swirl around the side. So the tendency to go underneath the bottom of the thing could run right up underneath, up into the behind, into the cab. Yeah. Here's another delivery kind of a vehicle. Now this is an interesting sort. You're inside this steel box, and what do you got on the back where all the swirling goes? You got accordion type doors. Are they secure? You know, do they always button up right good? You're inside the thing, just like this. Here you're inside the cab also. Anything comes up underneath, you're right there. They look like pretty secure doors, but you pull things in and out of it all the time. The little rubber seals at the bottom get torn out. Who replaces them? All it takes is a half-inch crack. You see a lot of pickups in Hawaii, and the manufacturer, of course, he designed this thing in a wind tunnel with the pickup, with the gate there. But you see a lot of people, the gate rusts out. Pretty soon there's no more gate. What you'll get there is a little net, you know, like a safety net. And what will happen, of course, is the exhaust will go right through there, right up into the bed, try to get at your back window. Manufacturer didn't expect us to take the gates off. Yep. So every vehicle has a little different design. It's going to have different wind channels around it. Hey, there's my name, Frost. This one has big, secure, solid back on it, and the cab separated from the box that could fill with carbon monoxide. Might be a little better. You know, all the vehicles are a little different. You look at some of the big diesels, you know, they'll have smokestacks there right up above the cab. Pretty much goes off, but depends on the wind, doesn't it? Nice thing about diesel smoke is it usually smells a bit stronger and you can detect it, but it has carbon monoxide in it. Here's a fellow that's driving along the road. He's got a completely enclosed little cab there, but look where the exhaust is on his engine. If he's working in this direction all the time, well, he's going to get that exhaust blowing right onto the cab. I hope he's got good seals around his window. I wonder if he's got air conditioning there where the air conditioning intake is. You see, every vehicle's different. Yep, every vehicle is different. Well, so is every place. Now here is the big island of Hawaii, and it is big. That's why we have a lot of this kind of problem here, because we have long stretches of road all going in one direction. Now I marked them here for you. And the one that got me, almost got me, was this one. From Kauai High in a straight run right down here. The man was just coming around the corner, and bingo, this is where he went off. Now there's another straight run up here across the Waimea side. There's another one down here. Coming up from Hilo, you can get 15 minutes coming up here. And coming across the saddle, well, it's a little more bumpy. But we've got prevailing winds that come right through here on this island. And so this whole area up here is very vulnerable. Of course, it depends on your direction, which way you're going, and which way the wind is going, yeah? But you can find these straightaways for 15 or 20 minutes. Those are the hazardous places. Come on, let's go check out the other islands. All right, here we are on Oahu. And of course, we got trade winds coming down this way. So right away, I'm a little suspicious of Pearl City over here to Haleiwa. And of course, we've got a nice long windward ride up here that's at least 30-40 minutes or so. And possibly also a straight run through here. Now, these are less, you know, because they're on the leeward side. Of course, we've got the leeward road out here. Also, that could be troublesome given the proper wind conditions. I don't know as this one is long enough. We might get 15-minute run up here. Here we are on Kauai, and this run is notorious for me because I'd start up here in Kilauea. By the time I got down here midway between Kapaa and Lahui, you know, I'd be really sleepy. So that one, I remember that one very well. Now, the northern route up here, it's possible. You're on the windward side, you got prevailing wind. Again, we got our trades going in like this. Over on the leeward, on the dry side over here, well, you're up on Kokei here, but on the dry side, you know, being on the leeward side, the winds aren't quite, you get the onshores and offshores. And so this is a less likely problem here, I would suspect. Now Maui, of course, has got that long run over here. Beautiful, but it's subjected to that trade wind. I don't know if you can get a 15-minute run along there. Certainly over here, because we've got a lot of winds coming through this side, this guy here has got to be an important route. And over here, of course, you're on the lee side. You're more sheltered, more onshore, offshore sort of stuff. Maybe not quite as hazardous. It all depends on conditions, though. These wind situations vary, don't they? Time, vehicle, wind. Yep, enough time to creep into your bloodstream. A vehicle with the proper entryway, open windows, vehicle design problems, rusty holes, bad exhaust, and wind, a prevailing wind to keep the system going for enough time to get you. Hey, you ever been driving along and your hair is blowing into your eyes? Your hair is blowing from the back of your head into your eyes. That means the wind is coming from behind your head. That's back where the exhaust pipe is, huh? Now, your best tool against this hazard is your knowledge. What you've learned from this film, your awareness, your ability to be a good detective and figure this out is your best defense. Once recognized, what do you do about fixing the hazard?
Pull over, of course, and look for your bad windows or look for the thing, recover, and then go and investigate. Now, once you pull over, after 10 or 15 minutes, you'll feel fully recovered, even after a few minutes sometimes. You're going to get back in the vehicle and go do it again? Who else is going to be riding in the vehicle? One of the problems in being a good safety inspector, which you have now become, about carbon monoxide, is that now you got to be a little more responsible. And if there is a problem with the vehicle and other people are going to drive it, now you got to get in there and tell people about it and communicate about this hazard. Sometimes it might be necessary to prove the hazard, so we're going to get technical. Yeah, if you're dealing in a big fleet safety situation where there's lots of trucks or whether sometimes there has to be some money spent to fix the hazard, it may be necessary to prove to management that there is a real hazard. So check out what I've got here for you.
Now, I wish I could tell you there was a simple badge you could wear and in 5 minutes would tell you where your carbon monoxide level is, but it's not quite that simple. There are $1,000 black boxes. But I did find this. This is the best I could find in the year 2001. It's called Draeger tubes. These are an old standby in the toxicology field. It's a little tube here, and they have special pumps that you can squeeze and put a measured amount of air gets sucked through here, and it gives a reaction. But these are very sensitive. I mean, here's the way they look. Now I just took this guy and put a squeegee bulb on the bottom. You break off the little tips, suck a little air through it. I just gave it a little suck in the exhaust, and you can see the color change. Now you can do this very scientifically, and you can get readings on it. So these are very sensitive, and you can even get into the OSHA law with these guys. Now if you want to get in touch with Draeger, I'll patch in their address. Here's another option for you. These are a different kind of tube. They're called diffusion tubes, and they're about the same price. Instead, you just break off one end, put them in a little holder, stick them in your pocket. And these will work up to 8 hours, and they don't have to have air pumped through them. You can see this one has been exposed about halfway. And it will also the air just diffuses through here and tells you how much carbon monoxide is in this guy. Draeger diffusion tubes could also be, at least in the year 2001, purchased locally in this state at Safety Systems, Hawaii Incorporated, out on Waikimela Road.
A brief review. Most of you felt this before. No, I didn't run you off the road. Just a little sleepy, nodded off, sudden tiredness. Yeah, suddenly. Little COs trying to grab your hemoglobin. You had to drive a long distance in one way. The wind had to be in the same direction. Time, vehicle, wind. And of course, maybe a different vehicle, maybe a flaw in your vehicle, huh? Time, vehicle, and wind. Tell everybody, keep your eye on it. It's a real hazard. It gets you, your friends, your family. We all want to get home, guys. Time, vehicle, and wind. Tell your friends. Watch out for each other. Aloha.